Hello and welcome back. Hopefully I've gotten on top of the technology. The screens are set up much more nicely, so I kind of know where everything is now and I can actually see the chat, which is a bit of an upgrade. So let's get stuck into it for the second time. We're going to go through today's lesson on card combinations, which is inspired by Mike Lawrence's book on card combinations. Now, card combinations are an amazingly complex thing. From the newsletter on Tuesday, you would have seen the process that's gone through to solve a particular card combination. So it's quite intense. What you need to do is you need to assess all the possible lies of the cards. You then need to deduce which lies don't matter at all. And then, so sometimes you'll just have it where it didn't matter if you played for the drop or you played for the finesse. It just didn't matter which line you took. Now, what you then need to do once you've got rid of those lies of the cards is you then need to evaluate which ones worked and which ones didn't work out of the other ones. And then you get your idea of which is going to be the best way to play a particular card combination. Now, the interesting part about this is how do you ever get better at this particular part of the game? There's a couple of ways of going about it. The first one is you have an absolute brick of a Bible of Bridge, basically, the official encyclopedia of Bridge. In all of these, what there is a ginormously thick section. It's about that big. It's pretty thick. I think it's a good sort of 50 pages or something, which goes through card combinations and how you should play each particular suit holdings that you have, and you can memorize those. For those of you who aren't that dedicated, what you need to be able to do is build up a set of sort of rules that you apply and basically go with your gut. Having a basic understanding of some of the more common ones is a really good idea. 8 ever, 9 never is one that commonly comes up. So if you have an 8 card holding and you're missing the queen, it's better to finesse. With a 9 card holding missing the queen, it's better to play for the drop. So cash the ace king and hope it comes down. Now, the 8 ever is a really good one. The 9 never, still good, but it's not as good. I think there's only about 4 or 5% in it. So coming up with the solutions about how to solve these technical card combinations is pretty difficult, but applying these basic rules, 8 ever, 9 never, my personal favorite, just because it's really nice and easy, is the idea of little cards towards big cards. You will always get more tricks if you play little cards up towards big cards rather than leading out your own big cards. Now, the reason for that is that if you lead little cards up towards your big cards, they might not necessarily get captured. If you lead out your big cards yourself, you can guarantee your opponents are going to be there to snabble them up. Now, what I wanted to do today for a big part is talk about, because working on these card combinations, you've got your different ways of doing it. You can memorize them out of a book. You can, if you just Google suit combinations and RP Bridge, he's got basically the same, for Richard Pavlicek that is, he's got basically the same contents that are in the encyclopedia. One thing that I would thoroughly recommend is also the Bridgemaster 2000 program. Now, Bridgemaster is a program that's set up with hundreds of deals, and what you do is you play through the particular deals, and it's got analysis on all the hands. Now, there's 2 versions of this program. There's Bridgemaster 2000. Now, that one's hard work. There's 5 levels in each of the programs, and when you get to the 5th level of Bridgemaster 2000, you basically have to be world class. There's also the Bridgemaster 2000 Audrey Grant edition, which is really good for less experienced players. I dare say with the Bridgemaster 2000 program, many people wouldn't be able to get above sort of the 3 levels. So both programs are really good, but unless you're aiming to become world class in the next short while, I'd suggest probably the Bridgemaster Audrey Grant version is a good one to start off with. So what we're going to do now is just get stuck into a couple of hands and talk about the variables that come up with card combinations. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's our first hand, and what we've got is a balanced 20 count, and we're going to open 2 no trumps, pass, and our partner's going to bid 3 clubs Stayman, and we're going to tell them about our spades, and they're going to place the contract into 4 spades. Okay, and what we're going to do is have a 9 of diamonds lead. Okay, so we get the 9 of diamonds lead, and we start to make our plan. So counting our losers, what we have is we have 1 loser in spades because we might lose to the queen. We also have no losers in hearts, 1 loser in diamonds, we've got the ace to lose, and we've got 1 loser in clubs. Now, luckily for this hand, we only have 3 losers. What the risk is that we have, though, is that from West's 9 of diamonds lead, it looks pretty likely that they're going to have led the top of a doubleton. So we have a slight worry about a ruff. The only loser that we'll be able to do something about is possibly doing something about the queen of spades. And that would be taking a finesse, hoping that East holds the queen. Now I'm just having a look at my screen, and it somewhat looks as though half the bidding's basically been chopped off. What I might do is just see if I can make that a little bit better for you to have a look at. Let's see what we can do. Okay, that's making it a lot better for you. I mean, you've lost a bit of me, but I'd say the card's more important. So I'm going to leave it like that. Now, so here we have, actually I might see if I can, I'll see if I can tweak it a bit more. By the end of this, I'm going to be absolutely pro at doing all this, aren't I? Okay, yeah, no, I have no idea how to do that. Good news, you get to see all the cards. Bad news, you don't get as much of me. Okay, actually that might be good news as well. Alright, so we've had the 9 of diamonds lead, which looks suspiciously like a doubleton. So we're going to be a little bit worried about a ruff. And ideally the only loser we're going to be able to do something about is the queen of spades. Now, to do something about the queen of spades, we're probably going to want to take a finesse in an 8 card fit. What we're going to do is play low. We're going to see the ace appear, and they're going to come back with another one. And when West follows with the 2, they've confirmed our suspicions that they started off with just a doubleton. Now we want to take the finesse, but one thing that you can do that's slightly better is, first of all, you can actually cash the ace of spades. This is because if anyone has a singleton queen, you're now going to pick up the suit for no losers. Now, after you've done that, you'll need to get back across to the dummy. You've got the choice of getting back across with the king of diamonds or the ace of hearts. Now, we know that there's a doubleton diamond, so we definitely don't want to do that. What we want to do is we want to cross over with our safest card possible. So that'd be with a heart. No one's going to ruff a heart. And we need to overtake the queen. Then what we can do is we can lead out the jack. And the reason we lead out the jack is that we're aiming to be able to take the finesse another time if we can. So if the finesse holds this time, we want to repeat it. So we need to be back in the north hand. Now East is going to cover with the queen, so we can win the king, and our finesse is going to work. What we're going to do is end up taking our 11 tricks. We got rid of one of our losers. And of course, luckily, our clubs break. So there we'd go for 11 tricks. We'll just have to play it out. Yeah. Okay, so once they come back, we could win and claim if we could claim, but unfortunately we can't. And there we go for 11 tricks taken. What we're going to do is just move on to the next board, and then we're going to go through and discuss a bit of this. Okay, so you might notice that this board looks very similar. So again, we have a balanced 20 count, and again, we are going to open 2 no trumps. And now our partner's going to Stayman. And again, we're going to bid 3 spades. And they're going to pop us up to 4. And surprise, surprise, guess what? You get the exact same lead. You get the 9 of diamonds lead again. And we're basically in the same situation. What we have again is 1 spade loser. We have no heart losers. We have 1 diamond loser, and we have 1 club loser. So why is this situation any different? Again, the only loser that we're going to be able to do anything about is going to be the Queen of Spades. The same defense starts off. Didn't need to play the Jack, but let's say they did. And they play their diamonds. And we get to win. Now we've got a little bit of a problem. The reason that we have a problem on this hand that we didn't have on the last hand is that if we take the finesse and it loses, what might happen is that West might be able to play another club, or play a club, sorry, and get back across to the East hand, so that East can then give their partner a ruff in diamonds. Now, what this means is that, remember at the start of the hand, we only had 3 losers. We only had a spade, a diamond, and a club. What we don't want to have happen is that we don't want to have the finesse fail, West to then play a club across to East, who could win the ace, and then another diamond come through and that to get ruffed by West, because that would change our losers to a spade, a club, a diamond, and also a diamond ruff, and we'd go down in our contract. What we're going to do is we're actually going to play our spades from the top. The idea is that we're willing to give up 1 spade trick. We're happy to. Interestingly here, you actually get the queen drop. Now, it's not that uncommon for a queen to drop like this. And what happened with the line that we took is we actually guaranteed basically our contract. We'll have a look at the hands at the end of it. But what we're going to do now is draw the last trump. And we're also this time going to come up with 11 tricks again. We start to knock out the club, and then when they come back, we're home. We're for another 11 tricks. And we're just going to look at exactly why these 2 hands were so different. Okay. Beautiful, 11 tricks taken. So if we have a look at it, where are we? Hopefully this will show. Oh, that's okay. Just trying to get the sizing right for you. Okay, so if we go back to our first board, and they're very similar. Now, the difference is that on the first board, again, we were worried about a ruff. We know that West has a doubleton, and we're worried that they're going to be able to end up ruffing a diamond. Now, we were able to take the finesse very, very safely in this position. The reason for that compared to our second hand is that we know that East won't have an immediate entry even if the finesse fails. So if we took the finesse and West happened to hold the Queen of Spades, we know that West would not be able to play a card across for East to win, and then for East to be able to play a diamond for them to ruff. On the contrary, on the second hand here, the situation's different. The hand looks very similar, but the situation's completely different. The nine of diamonds was led again, and East continued with the diamond, and now we thought about taking the finesse. In this situation, the finesse is going to be quite risky. The reason for that is that if we lose the finesse to West, it's entirely possible that what they'll be able to do is play a club for their partner to win the ace, and then their partner to give them a ruff in diamonds. Now, it didn't matter on this hand what we did because East happened to hold the Queen of Spades, but if it was actually West that held the Queen of Spades, and they had three of them, if we took the finesse, we would have gone down in this contract, which is a bit of a shame considering we only started off with three losers. Now, there's another interesting point to this hand in regards to the defense, which is that once East sees the nine of diamonds lead, it's quite likely that their partner's led high from a doubleton. Now, with this in mind, especially on this first hand, where they don't have another entry, it would probably be in East's interest when the nine of diamonds is played to just play a low diamond. Now, the reason for this is East knows that they want to give their partner a ruff. Being that they can see three diamonds in the dummy, it's likely Declarer's got three and their partner's got two. The problem that they have is they want to give their partner a ruff, but they don't actually have any entries. They're going to need an entry to be able to get to their hand and play a diamond for their partner to ruff. So what they could do at trick one is they could actually play a low diamond and let South win the trick, with the aim that if their partner can get the lead, they could then play a diamond back across to them. Now, if this particular defense happened against you as the declarer, you've got this same worry still, this same worry that there's going to be a ruff. The difference is that, remember, when we played out the first hand, there was no immediate entry to the East hand. When we played out the second hand, we were worried that there was going to be an entry with the Ace of Clubs. If East actually ducks the Ace of Diamonds, you're at the same position that you were at with the second hand, because you would be worried that East does have an entry with the Ace of Diamonds. So if East actually played low on the first diamond, you'd be better off just cashing the Ace King and playing for the drop in spades, and again giving up your one spade trick, one diamond trick, and one club. So there's a really interesting case about card combinations, because we want to take a finesse, but what's happened in the card play and what the situation is has completely changed how we actually want to play the hand. So it's a bit tricky, isn't it? Okay, on to our next one. All right, here we go. So we're first to bid, and we're going to start off with one no trump. And just to check that, yeah, our screen looks all right. Less of me, more of the cards, that's good. So one no trump, West passes, and our partner's going to bid three no trumps. And we get the Queen of Spades lead. Now, this hand's not quite as I wanted it to be. What I wanted was for us to have the Ace of Clubs as South and not the King or the Queen. So just picture as though you've got the Ace of Clubs. Now, just to talk about the bidding, which is pretty interesting. What would you do with the North hand after your partner opens one no trump? Now, some people would end up transferring to diamonds and just passing there. I know a lot of people that would be keen to bid 5 diamonds and give that a crack. What's actually going to be the best bid is bidding 3 no trumps. Now, the reason for that is that you're going to have a fit with your partner in diamonds and at least a 9 card fit, because we know the partner needs to have 2. What's happening though is that our diamonds are pretty much going to be worth exactly the same number of tricks whether they're trumps or whether we're in no trumps. We're probably going to win 6 or maybe even 7 diamond tricks. Now, when that's the case, give 3 no trumps a go. Why not? One thing I'd also say is that if you are going to make an action like this, you need to be pretty sure that you're going to have an entry to be able to take your suit when it's established. So here, having the ace of diamonds is very powerful. Now, as it is, as declarer, we've got the worst holding possible that we could have opposite our partner's diamonds. We'd much prefer to, say, have the king in a small one, and we'd just be guaranteed that we've got our 7 diamond tricks. Unfortunately, we don't. We have to deal with this rubbish that we have. Now, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to duck a spade. This is really good practice because we get taught that we should duck, especially if we only had ace to 3. A lot of people don't get taught why you should duck till the 3rd round. The main reason for that is that if one opponent started off with 5 of the suit, it means the other opponent started off with 3 of the suit. What you're doing by ducking is you're eventually ending up with the hands excommunicated. Because if you win the 3rd round of the suit, the other player without the length is now going to have run out of that suit. So what they're going to have to do is, if they win a trick, in this case, they wouldn't have another spade to play through. So they won the trick. They're going to continue on. Let's say they continue on with the 9. What would we know about their spades? We'd know that they had the queen, the jack, the 10, and the 9. Pretty impressive. Okay, so we won that one. Now, in this situation, you actually don't have too many winners. You've got 2 spade winners, you've got 1 diamond winner, and that's about it. So you've got 3 winners. If we pretend that you actually have the ace of clubs, that'd give you 4 winners, meaning you only needed a total of 5. Actually, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter that you have the ace of clubs. Don't have the ace of clubs, I just realized. Sort of does. Okay, so we're going to pretend that we've got the ace of clubs and that we have 4 total winners. Now, our best spot to look for extra tricks is going to be the diamonds. So what we'll do, we'll get started. Let's lay down a diamond. Whoa, we see the king appear. That looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Because what we can do is now capture the king. Interestingly, this situation is a little bit deceptive. You probably feel really happy right now because you've seen the king and you know you get to capture it. There's always a but to these things. What's the but? Why would West have played the king? It's pretty much going to be because the king is the only card in the suit that they have. Now, if that's the only card in the suit that they have, what does that give East? What does that give their partner? What it gives their partner is the jack to 3 diamonds. So if West has 1, it means that East has 3, and it also gives them the jack. Now, if we capture the king, which we're pretty excited about, and we start to play out our diamonds, what we're going to find is this position where we have all these diamond winners set up, but good luck getting across to the dummy. The dummy's now entryless. It's a bit of a problem, isn't it? What we could do to solve this issue is if we go right back, what we could have actually done is we could have just ducked a trick to the king of diamonds. Now, what's changed is that now we still have a diamond left in our hand. We still have the 3 diamonds. And what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to play the 3 diamonds across to the ace, and then the queen is going to draw out the opponent's jack, because remember, East is now only down to 2. Now, if you happen to hold the ace of clubs, you'd be absolutely home in your contract at this point, because you'll end up winning 6 diamond tricks, 2 spades, and a club. As it so happens, a little bit unlucky for the defenders. We'll see what goes on. Once you win and you cash out your diamonds, So the ace draws one, and then the queen draws the other one, and then you can run them. Unfortunately for your opponents, both of the aces that are out actually happen to be with the West player. Now, also just note here from the dummy, what you need to do in this position is actually pitch a heart rather than a club. So the reason for that is that we can see that dummy has the jack and the 5. In power with our king, it's always going to be a stopper. And then what's going to happen is poor East is going to have to give us a trick. And we get to make our contract. So this was a bit of an interesting hand in that what ended up happening was we ended up actually having to duck a trick to ensure that we had an entry. If we had 3 diamonds ourselves, it wouldn't have been so crucial because we'd always have a way to be able to get to play over to the dummy. So the ideal way that we'd be able to play this card combination, we had to take into account the fact that we had no entries and we needed to be able to use the diamond as an entry, which is a bit of a shame. Good news, if we did manage to duck it, we would have made our contract. Okay, now for the rest of the session, we're going to be looking at some of the deals from Mike Lawrence's book. They're pretty cool. The ones that I have chosen come from chapter 3. And what we're looking at that way is this position where one hand has the queen, the 9, and the 8, and the other player has the ace, the 7, and the 2. So what we're going to be missing is the king, the jack, and the 10. Now, if you are left to your own devices, basically the way that you're going to get 2 tricks out of this suit is that you're going to lead up towards the king, so towards the queen, sorry. So leading a little card away from the ace and hoping that the king is on side. So this is an indirect finesse. One thing I probably should have mentioned at the start of the lesson as far as the techniques for getting your card combos right, the most important technique is don't have to get them right in the first place. It's a lot more beneficial to you if you let your opponents play suits. If your opponents open up suits, it gives you much more options. Always try to, if you've got a suit that's a problem, always try to find a way that they have to lead them. These particular deals have a lot to do with that. Basically, Mike tries to avoid having to deal with them and then uses some pretty creative genius to solve them. So let's get into it. Okay, now our first one. Alrighty, so what happens here? East is our dealer and East passes. And we're going to open the bidding up with 1 no trump. And our partner's going to place the contract into 3 no trumps, which is where it's going to end. We got the Jack of Hearts lead. Now, this is a interesting one because what's ended up happening is that we have a bit of an awkward situation in the spades. When we count our winners, what we've got is we've got 3 club winners, we have 4 diamond winners for 7, and from the lead, what we're going to end up with is we're definitely going to end up with 2 heart tricks. Now, what we know is that we know that West started off with the jack and the 10. There's also a small possibility that they started off with the king, although it's probably more likely to be with East. So just going to this hand, we've got, with counting 2 heart winners, we do have 9 heart winners, 9 total winners. But we're going to have a little bit of a problem setting up our hearts before the opponents might get a chance to figure out that they should switch to spades. Now, the way that we're going to play this particular combination actually is the way that we consider a way affected by danger hands. So here, the thing that we're most worried about is we're worried if East has the ace of spades, that if West leads a spade, they're going to be able to capture our king and the opponents are going to be able to run a bunch of spade tricks at us. So in making our plan for this hand, one of the really big considerations is how am I going to get 2 heart tricks but not have West get the lead? It's a really tricky little position. So give it a go yourself. Our aim is we want to get 2 heart tricks, but we don't want West to ever get the lead. Now, we're remembering that we know that West has the Jack and the 10. If they've got the King, they're going to be guaranteed to have a trick in the end. But let's give it a go. I doubt they're going to have the King, by the way. The odds are on their partner having the King. All right, let's see how this works. Now, if we assume that East has the King, if we assume West has the King, what we should do is try to win the Queen now. If, on the other hand, which is probably more likely, we assume that East has the King, we have a very cool way of playing this heart suit. So remembering that we know that the 10 is with West and that the King is with East. Now, the way that we can do this is if we actually play small from the dummy and win the ace, we've set up a finesse position against the 10. So what happens now is we can guarantee that we're going to get 2 winners by playing a small heart. And now, if West puts in the 10, we can cover it with the Queen and lose to East's King. But now our 9's going to be promoted. If West puts in a small card, we can play the 9 and know that we're going to force out the King. Now, what's happened here is that we've got a situation where East is now on lead. We're very happy to have East on lead because they can't lead through our King X. On the other hand, if we go right back to the start, and what we did was we covered the Jack with the Queen, which seems to be sort of the gut reaction you'd probably have. Once the King gets played and we win the ace, if we set up our extra heart trick, because we can still get 2, what could happen now is we could actually have a spade switch from West. If you did get the spade switch, you kind of have to put up the King because it's give it a go now or never take it. And if it gets captured by the ace, oh, they're not playing a heart, are they? You are going to be absolutely done like a dinner. And it's not going to be too much fun, is it? You're going to end up going down in your contract. So that was a pretty cool way that you could handle this position with ace 7-2 opposite queen 9-8. Let's have a look at our next hand that deals with the same sort of situation. Just flicking to the right page. Okay, so pass. We're going to pass with our hand. We're going to get a 1 heart opening from our partner, a 1 spade overcall, and we're going to give 1 no trump a go. This is where partner jumps to life and puts us into 3 no trumps. And we get the 10 of spades lead. Alright, so here we go. Last hand, what we wanted to do was we wanted to duck it because we had a danger suit. Let's see what's going on with this particular hand though. So if we count our winners, what we've got is 2 club winners, we have no diamonds, no hearts, and 1 spade, which we know can be 2 spades. Now from the bidding, you actually know a fair bit about this hand because East actually passed the first time. They were the dealer and they passed, but they did overcall. So we basically know that East has started off life holding the king and the jack of spades, and they're going to have 1 of the missing aces, but they're not going to have 2 of the missing aces, because if they had both missing aces and the king jack of spades, they would have been able to open the bidding. So what we're going to want to do on this hand is we're going to want to be able to set up our hearts, but before they can knock out all our stoppers. We're definitely going to have 2 stoppers, but there's a really cute thing that we can do, which is choosing when we're going to take them. Now, you should cover the 10 here because you are capturing one of their honours, which is great. So then East is going to put in the king. What we can do here is we can actually duck the king, and we're going to see why. Now, when East has the lead here, we know that East is going to have the Jack of Spades. So if East now comes out a small spade, what we're going to be able to do is we're going to play small from our hand, and we're going to be able to run it up to our 8 or our 9 in the dummy. If they come out the Jack, we're going to be able to cover it with our ace. Now, what's going to happen if they play another suit? So let's have a look. If they play another suit, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to come out a heart, and they might win. But now we're going to be able to finesse against the Jack. Once West plays a spade, the Jack ends up getting finessed. If they play low, we simply get to hold with our 8. And that way what's ended up happening is that we've put East in this position where they can't actually stop us from making our contract. Even if they had got in first with the Ace of Diamonds before their partner got in with the Ace of Hearts, it wouldn't have mattered. They still couldn't afford to play out a spade. And they get to knock out our stoppers only after we've knocked out theirs. If we go right back to the start and have a look at the hand from the word go, still going back. Okay, have a look at what happens now if we take the ace. So we're still going to have a double stopper because we've still got the power of the 9 and the 8. But what's going to happen is that we're going to knock our spade stoppers going to get knocked out before both of our spade stoppers before we've actually been able to knock out their stoppers. So when we then run our tricks, should probably work on setting up some diamonds. Win our hearts. When we now start to work on setting up diamonds, our East player is now going to be able to cash all their spades that remain and actually end up defeating us in the contract. Now, what ended up happening here was we always had 2 spade stoppers. In both situations, we ended up winning 2 spade tricks. But what the difference was when we won the tricks and also the guard that we managed to put on spades, because when East had won the first time, they couldn't actually come out a spade themselves, which is a bit unfortunate for them. Now, if we end up going to the steal in analysis, it's also pointed out that East is actually misdefended by covering the Queen of Spades. The reason for that is that now they actually get the timing right, the opponents. So if they let the Queen of Spades hold, when their partner wins the Ace of Hearts and plays another spade, East will be able to knock out the entry or knock out the stopper that South has before their diamond entry has been knocked out. So East actually misdefended on this one, which is a bit sad. Okay, on to our next board. Alrighty. So here we are, a pretty exciting hand. Unfortunately, our opponents are going to start life off first. So a 2 diamond opening by West, pass to us. Now, you don't ever preempt a preempt. If you make a jump bid opposite a preempt, if it's at game level, it's because you want to play there. And if it's just a jump bid, it's basically a very encouraging bid to your partner that you want them to bid game if they think they have any chance at all. Now, we have a very obliging partner who's going to pop us into 4 hearts, and that's going to be where the auction ends. And we're going to get the Jack of Diamonds lead. And again, we've got this position where we've got our ace 7-2 opposite our queen 9-8. Looking at the hand, we don't have any clubs to lose. We've got one diamond to lose, basically. One spade and a heart. So a diamond, a spade, and a heart to lose. West opened 2 diamonds. It seems pretty likely that they've got the king, jack, 10 and have led from their interior sequence, maybe, doesn't it? Let's give it a go with the finesse. Oh no, what just happened? Oh gosh, oh gosh. Wow, so West has 6 diamonds, North has 3, we have 3. That's a total of 12. That means that the king that East just played is a singleton, and we've just lost their singleton king. Life's actually gotten worse. Not only did we lose to the singleton king, we also know now that East will be able to ruff diamonds. Now, if you reacted just as I did right now, I guarantee you will go down in this contract. Now, here's where Mike gets a little bit tricky. In absolute quick tempo, quick as a fly, what you need to be able to do is pop out the queen of diamonds. Wow, pretty impressive play. But why are we doing this? Basically, we're doing this to be a little bit deceptive to our opponents. Now, it doesn't actually matter which of our diamonds that we play, because having the 9 and the 8, the jack and the king have gone, we actually have a finesse against West's 10. Now, we know that, but West doesn't necessarily know that. West will probably think that we're the one with the singleton. Why would we play the queen under the king? Seems a bit odd, doesn't it? So now East will probably desperately try to get across to West. He'll think, okay, we've got to set up some spade tricks and continue on with the spade. Seems reasonable, doesn't it? And once we play out some trumps, let's say they don't fly because they're hoping their partner might win something, it's now all over, because the trumps are drawn and anything that West comes back, we're going to be able to win, and we're going to be able to lead out the 9 of diamonds and finesse against the 10. It's a pretty cool position. Now, it's funny because we think about card combinations in the sense that we've got to have these very technically right lines and we need to get everything right and play everything to the percentages. Yes, bridge is a lot about trying to increase the odds in your favor, but at the same point there's a lot of a psychology element to it. And this hand just illustrates just how much. As an opponent, it doesn't seem... Why would you play the queen under the king? It doesn't make sense because that's going to be one of your winners. So as the South player, making that deceptive play with the queen of diamonds actually was the difference between you making or breaking your contract. Now, it is true that the defender could have got it right, but unfortunately for them, they didn't. So, on to our next board. Okay, here's a nice juicy hand that we have, isn't it? So on this one, what's going to happen is that we're going to start off life with 2 no trumps. So we've got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 21 points. A lot of people open 2 no trumps with a 5-card major. The idea is that if you don't, you have a lot of problems describing your hand. Now when partner transfers 2 spades, this is a time to get a little bit excited. This would be a situation where you definitely don't want to bid 3 spades. What you want to do is you want to give 4 spades a go. Because you're a bit worried partner might have just been transferring and then passing. And with a 10-card fit, you don't want to do that, do you? Okay, so 4 spades, and that will be where our auction ends. Now, on this hand, you're going to get the Jack of Hearts lead. Now, this is a really, really interesting hand. So what we've got is we've got, again, our same situation with ace 7-2 opposite queen 9-8. Now looking at the hand, we've got no spade losers, we've got no heart losers, we've got no club losers. It just comes down to this diamond position. Now, what you're probably going to have to do is take the finesse by leading a small diamond towards the queen in south. So what we'll do is we'll play out the hand and see how we go. Let's cash some trumps. And remember that what we always want to do is we want to basically run our long suit just to see sort of what happens. So you can't afford to just muck around here a little bit. One thing I'd do is suggest that you do just cash your other winners. When you've got one key element to the hand and the rest doesn't matter, it's really good to just play out your long suit and play out your winners. That's if you don't have any risks. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Does anyone remember how many spades West had? They actually only had one. Now what's happened is this is actually the third round of clubs and they've shown out. What that means is that they actually started off with 10 cards in the red suits. Yikes. Now, with 10 cards in the red suits, we've got a little bit of a problem, because what happens is it makes it odds on that our West player is actually going to have the King of Diamonds. Now, if West has the King of Diamonds, is there any way that you reckon you can get away with ending up winning the Queen? It's a tricky one, isn't it? So you're at this position. Now, if we thought East had the Queen of Diamonds, we'd be absolutely fine. What we could do is we could cross over to North with a spade, and then we could lead a diamond up. And if they play small, we're going to try to win the Queen. But what are we going to do if we think West has it? Wonder if you were watching Pete's end plays lesson, because what you can actually perform here is a bit of an end play. So once we have this position, what we can do is we can remember we're playing as though we know West has the King of Diamonds. If we thought East had the King of Diamonds, what we'd do now is we'd play small and we'd try to win our Queen. Now, what we're going to do is an interesting thing. Once we play small, East is going to play a small one. This gives us a couple of bits of information. First of all, in a slam contract, it's a lot of East players here, if they held the king, would play the king, because they want to make sure they get to win a trick with their king and they're not getting ripped out of it. So it's pretty likely now, because West started off with 10 red cards and East hasn't played the king here, it's pretty likely that it's going to be with West. Now what can you do to win the rest of the tricks, knowing that West has the king? Let's show you what you can do. If you play the Queen, you know it's going to get captured, and that's going to be bad. On the other hand, if you just play an 8, you force West to win the trick. Now West is end played. So if West has the king, they have a couple of options. First of all, they could come out a heart. If they come out a heart, you're all happy, because what you can do is you can take a ruff and discard. So for instance, what we could do is we could ruff with the north hand and we could make a discard with the south hand and now just play the ace of diamonds. If on the other hand, we go back, oops, too far back, no, not far enough back. If on the other hand our West player comes out a diamond, now what we have to do is we have to back our gut and assume that they had the king. And what we can do is we can play the 7 and aim to win our Queen. It's a pretty tricky play and end play, and it's a way of getting tricks that you don't necessarily deserve. You didn't really deserve to get 2 tricks out of this suit, did you? So a really cool maneuver that you have. Now, if we go back, East had something cool that they could have done. When a small diamond was played, we've now got an interesting position if our East player comes out with the Jack. So you want to cover this, and we've still got an end play position, but this time it's changed to being against the 10, where what you're hoping is that West also had the 10, and now that they're going to have to lead small away from their 10, and you're going to win your 8. But believe me, that feels a lot more scary when you're at the table. So a pretty cool hand there by Mike. On to the next one, which is our last hand for the lesson. I hope you've enjoyed it. It was definitely an improvement on this afternoon's efforts, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so on this particular one, what we're going to have, flip to it. Alright, so our East player starts off life with 1 spade, and we have this glorious hand. Now in the book, Mike's got that we make a double here. So what we have is we have 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 points. Got a lot of sympathy for overcalling a no-trump, but double's also a bid that at least it gives your partner some hope of hearts. Most people, they'll just be bidding a no-trump. They've got double in the book, so I'm going to run with it. Now what's going to happen is partner's going to jump to 3 diamonds. Okay, this is good news. This is what we wanted to hear. Partner's got some values, we know that. Now we see a 3 spade bid from East, and let's give 3 no trumps a go. It's probably going to be a good contract. And that's where we end up. And we get the Jack of Spades lead. Okay, so lo and behold, here we have the same position again, where we've got Queen 9-8 opposite Ace 7-2. And again, we're going to have another way of playing this combination. So if we have a look at this hand, what we've got is we've got our 1 spade winner, which will be 2 based on the position. We've got 2 heart winners for 4, 3 club winners for 7, and we need to work on diamonds for our extra trick. Now, what are we going to do? This is a hand where you really need to have listened to the bidding. So first things first, East opens. So we know that East has opening values, and we're only actually missing 13 points. So basically East has everything. We know that East has both of the diamond cards, both the ace and the king, and this gives us huge problems. Because in terms of the race, if our defense can knock out both of our spade stoppers before we've knocked out both of the diamonds, they're going to win. They're going to win the race, and they're going to defeat us in our contract. But when we listen to the bidding even further, remember that East was a bold character and came into the auction to bid 3 spades. Now, this is an indication that 3 spades would be a 6-card suit. Glad to hear I've got some instructive hands. I've even put it so that I can see the chat window this time, which is really good. Last time I couldn't see the chat window and couldn't see that anyone was actually typing to me, telling me they couldn't hear me. And I've also been asked what double of 3 spades would be. That's not too bad a question. I would play, personally, I think double of 3 spades is going to be values with an idea of being happy to defend if partner wants to defend. So a hand that's very happy to penalize 3 spades. It's not strictly penalties. With the idea that once you've shown a takeout double, your hand can't magically change from being a takeout double into a penalty double. You started off life with not very many spades. You can't have magically grown some spades in your hand to make it be a strict penalty double. I would say it is pretty encouraging for partner to pass the double, but only if they think their hand's going to be sort of useful for the defense. As it is with the north hand, if there was the double, it's a tricky one. You're probably pretty happy with your queen third spade and would probably pass it. I'm just going by what Mike said. Mike wanted the double of one spade. Mike wanted to bid 3 no trumps. We'll live with what happened in the book. There's some pretty good stories in here, by the way. I would strongly recommend reading this book. It has been one of the only bridge books I have read from cover to cover. Anyway, on to the play. So if we come back to it, we knew that East has basically all the rest of the points because they opened the bidding and we're only missing 13, and West has already shown up with 1. And we're also going to now know that East, because they bid 3 spades, also has 6 of them. If they didn't have 6 of them, we know they've already only got 12 points. They're going to be a bit of a cowboy. So what can we do about it in this situation? Once we put the dots together, if East has 6, we've got 3 in our hand, that's 9. North's got 3 in their hand for 12. We can actually work out that the only spade that West holds is the Jack. Now, the great thing about this is it gives us the opportunity to win the race. The way that we can do that is we can actually let West win the trick. So we let West hold the Jack. Now, West only had that 1 spade. So what they're going to have to do now is they're going to have to switch to another suit. So let's say that they switch to a club. We're going to be able to knock out the ace and the king, which we know with East because of the points from them opening. And East is in a position here where he can't play his spades himself. So having the king and the 10, if they came out the king, we'd be able to capture it with the ace. If they came out a small one, we'd be able to play it around to our queen. So when they come out a small one, they could have come out the 10, but yep. What we get to do is we get to win. Now we get to knock out their diamond winner before they've had a chance to come out and knock out our second spade stopper. We only ever started with 2 stoppers, but we got to choose when we took them, and we took them at a stage that we're going to win the race. We're going to have knocked out the stoppers before they were able to knock out ours. I probably should have unblocked my diamonds there, but I still have some time. It's all good. If I didn't do it then, I wasn't going to be able to. Always good to play high card from the short holding, but not that I did it. And what we're going to be able to do is make our contract quite happily. If we go right back to the start of the deal and we have a look at what would happen if we did cover the Jack of Spades, we'll see that it's a completely different story. We still have 2 stoppers in spades, but it completely changes as to when we take them. So if we cover and East now plays the king, we'll get to win our ace. This time we're going to play the high card from the short holding. So we're going to lead out the queen and we're going to knock out the king. But now what's going to happen is that East is going to win the race. They're going to knock out our second stopper, but this is before we've been able to knock out their ace of diamonds. And what they're going to be able to do then is run the rest of their spades and actually defeat us in our contract, which looked really, really good. And that'd be a real shame on the hand, wouldn't it? So as you can see, we've had this one combination which has been Queen 9-8 opposite Ace 7-2. And the ways that they've been played have completely varied upon who's a danger hand, or the bidding that's already happened, or in that particular case a deceptive play. And on that particular suit combination, there's actually even more examples. So not that I want to completely ruin all sense of card combinations, but it's all well and good to be able to know the combinations and what the percentage lines are to play them. To learn those, as I mentioned, there's the official encyclopedia of bridge. what I might do is pop onto webcam. So if you happen to have one of these bricks at home, it's got a full section on suit combos and how you should play them. And it does change based on how many tricks that you need from the hand. But even knowing the percentages and knowing the exact ways that you should be playing it, it does become pretty hard. What you should be doing is taking a lot of inferences from what happened in the bidding. And it also changes based on sort of what the situation is. So I hope that this lesson's been useful for you. Thanks for watching, and I think it's a definite improvement on the efforts from this afternoon. I guess I'll be seeing you streaming sometime soon. Pete's back at 6:30 in the morning tomorrow. I get the wonders and joy of driving out to the airport to get him. He will be running a stream on Saturday morning from 11 till 1, and then back to normal from next week. So thanks for joining, and I hope you've enjoyed. See ya.